bum 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 bum. Dun 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-dun dum dun 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 ba-dun dun 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 bum ba-dum bum bum ba-da-dum dun 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 dun. Dun 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 ba dun 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 bum ba dum bum bum bum. Hello, my friends. Hello, my mighties. It's wonderful to see you. Hello, my friends from Facebook and from Rumble now and YouTube, yes, and even X. And we're on a lot of platforms now. It's pretty darned exciting to see so many people from so many different places. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joette Calabrese, and every Monday night, this is what we do. We meet at 8 o'clock Eastern Time to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to discuss homeopathy. And I give you my perspective and how I use homeopathy and how I've been using it for 40 years. And for those of you who do know me, welcome all my friends. It's wonderful to see you. There's Ajax, Ontario from Rona. Hi from Puerto Rico. Wonderful to see you, Brandy. Good evening from Connecticut. And hello from the Yukon, says Christy. Christy, you are always on the move, my friend. Ottawa, nice to see you, Carol. Dawn from Stevens, Washington, and Bonnie from Myers, Florida. It's wonderful to see everyone. I love to see where you're all from. We're getting more and more people from outside of the USA, which is great too, but lots of Canadians, yes, from Ontario. Hi, I think it's Nally. It's going by so quickly, I'm not catching up in time. So let's talk tonight, shall we? We're on an addiction roll, aren't we? We're going through the remedies and the ideas around how to deal with addictions. Guatemala, wonderful. Oh, that's great. Western Australia, thank you for joining us. Ithaca, New York. So we're going to talk about addictions, and tonight we're going to be talking about cannabis addiction. And many people contend that it is not an addiction, that it's, I can just stop any time, and they've been able to. And for some people, it may indeed be that way, and for others, it may not. So this is my experience with cannabis addiction. Let me start with this. I find that the most noteworthy cases that I've worked with have been with the children of parents who were addicted or are addicted. And so what I've seen, and this is a time and again, is children, they can be young children, they can be adult children, who have a personality in which they feel that they have no motivation, or very little motivation. The little motivation they do have is often associated with a dreamy-like state. So they might be artists, they might be musicians, but they experience a dreaminess on a day-to-day basis. They don't know any other way. It's not as though they were clear-headed and then become dreamy, because if indeed they were born to parents who were smoking marijuana before their conception, at the time of conception, during pregnancy, and there are plenty, my friends, there are plenty. It will be likely, if it's going to be a problem, it's a lifelong problem. And so what I've found is that by using a specific homeopathic medicine, and I know you're going to be able to guess it, we've seen a shift, a big shift. I've had people come back to me and say, I've never been so clear-headed. I didn't know that I could think so succinctly, so logically. One step follows another step in thinking. because my thinking has been so clouded for so long. Now, they may not use the words clouded. They may just say, I just don't have enough ambition. I should be, I'm 35. I should be, in my career, should be well established by now. I should be moving along faster, but I don't know. I just don't care. Or a couple of times I've had the parents, the mother usually, come to me and say, my adult child has no ambition. And then when I learned that there was a chance that the mom or dad or both were smoking marijuana through the pregnancy, etc., that's the first thing I think of. But let me also tell you, my friends, yes, I am talking about cannabis sativa. Actually, I'm talking about cannabis indica. I have used sativa too, but I find indica is, let me just concentrate on that for a moment. Cannabis indica can also be for someone who is not, does not come from that background. They don't smoke marijuana. Their parents didn't smoke marijuana, or they did from time to time, but it's obviously not an issue. But they have those symptoms. We can use this medicine homeopathically, cannabis indica. And we'll talk about it a little bit further in a little while. But when I look at my repertoire, let's go to addictions, because that's what we're really talking about. I don't see this child as necessarily addicted. They're not smoking marijuana themselves. So in that case, I would not call them addicted at all. But this is just my opinion, my friends. So let me tell you that I'm going to Robin Murphy's Meta Repertory, 4th edition, and this is where we find a lot of great information. And I'm going in the mind section, and I'm on page 5. And I go to addictions, ailments from. Addicted personality, ailments from. We have a lot of addiction to drugs, addiction to recreational drugs. Now let's talk about someone who's actually addicted. They smoke marijuana regularly. And when we look at a recreational drug rubric, there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 remedies. That's all there are. That's not very many. There's not a lot to choose from. Cannabis indicus is in there. Cannabis sativa is in there. But interestingly, Avena sativa, and we'll talk about that. I'm just emphasizing that so that we can go back to that in a few minutes. Okay, Nux vomica is in there. Nux vomica is great. And we're going to see this unifying thread, my friends, in every one of these sessions that we're going to be talking about on Monday nights, because we're going to be talking about addictions for the next several Monday nights. We're going to see Nux vomica over and over and over. So tonight what I want to do is I want to compare cannabis indicus, the use of cannabis indicus for someone who is addicted to Nux vomica. Okay, that's going to be the crux of our evening tonight. So, cannabis indicus is a medicine that is, or indica, is a medicine that is based mostly on the mental aspects of the case. Meaning, generally the physicals are not so grand. There are a couple little physical issues. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there can be kind of an exalted way of looking at life. The person can be giddy. They can be, I have some notes written here. They can even have ecstatic states. It doesn't have to be all the time, but it's a sense of a different level of understanding of what's happening at that moment. They can laugh immoderately. Their concentration can be difficult. Now, as I tell you, can be, this can all happen. Don't expect that we're going to line these all up and they have to have this as well as that, as well as this, as well as that. What I'm doing is laying out the possibilities of the conditions that can present when this medicine is needed. Oh, it's interesting. People have a lot of comments here. Very interesting comments. All righty. It can also be someone who has a lot of anger, even rage. So we're looking at the psychological aspect of this, for the need of this medicine. There can be panic attacks, fearfulness, anxiety, and There can be a fear of insanity. Doesn't have to have all of this. I'm just telling you what can be. There can be a disorientation. And someone who has a lot of ideas and can't hold on to them. Great ideas even, but they don't usually come to fruition. They don't complete them. They get only so far. The idea is exalted in their mind, and then it's dropped. So it's kind of in a way, it's like a dream. There are, in these ideas that folks who need this medicine, for folks who need this medicine, these ideas can be deep ideas, and they go off in many directions with tentacles out into many different fields: science, music, politics. And they often are can even be well educated in those subjects. In other words, they read about them: history, geography, geology, astronomy. And then they often can get those and kind of tie them together in a fashion that can be impressive. But often nothing comes of it, or very little comes of it. You would think that that kind of a mind would be able to, because they're exploring, they're curious, they're interested, they're interesting, you would think that that would carry them to the next level. That excitement around that subject would certainly spur them on to develop their theorizing, their philosophies even further. But alas, it's often not taken to fruition. And it's frustrating for those around them to see this great intelligence, not always, but if there is great intelligence, to fall to the wayside. So, excuse me, when it's time for them to quit, they've decided they're going to quit smoking. And instead, what they're going to do is try to fill their lives up with something else, which would be actually a good idea. When I used to smoke cigarettes, I remember that I found that if I could get away with not smoking if I was in college, so it was easy for me to do this. Just take a shower every time I felt as though I needed a cigarette when I was studying, for example, or go for a walk. And so to fill it up with something else would be prudent. And so these are the people who will come up with ideas to be able to do that. But then their concentration drops them, or their brain drops their concentration, and they become hazy in their thinking. This is a medicine that, if they want to quit smoking, can be extremely useful. Cannabis indica, I have used it in a 30th potency, and I've used it 30C, for example, and I've also used it in a 200C. Now, let me also add that there are a couple of physical aspects, not very many. One of them is prostatitis, and another one is urethritis. So that means that they're frequently urinating. The prostate is enlarged. There can be a strong sexual desire. And there can be a sensation as though, you know how, I don't know if you've ever done this when you were a child, you'd stand in a doorway and press your arms up against the sides of the door, press really, 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 really hard, and then let go, and it feels as though your arms are floating. That's a sensation that has been reported by those who may need this medicine, cannabis indica, whether it's because they've been smoking it, or whether or not they've been not smoking it, or whether it's been their parents who were smoking it. This medicine can fit in those situations. So whether the person smokes cannabis indica or they smoke sativa or whatever, any other strain, I'm not familiar with all the strains, but even if they were to do that, smoke others, I find that cannabis indica is the one that will touch regardless. So now let's compare it to Nux vomica. Smoking cannabis, not cigarettes. We're not talking about cigarettes today, just cannabis. Addiction to cannabis. Now let's talk about Nux vomica. Nux vomica, on the other hand, does have a mental aspect to the picture. Cannabis indica, as I said, is more mental and emotional. Nux vomica has that as well, but Nux vomica has other concerns, and that can often help us differentiate between the choices. Nux vomica is often angry. The need for Nux vomica shows up in someone who is often angry. They feel as though there's an impediment to their movement forward. The traffic drives them crazy. They can't stand being held back. They don't like people at work who are too slow. They can't stand being around, for example, children, because children are too slow and requires too much patience. Different than cannabis indica. They are also, Nux vomica can overdo many things, not just smoking marijuana, but also overeating, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, eating stimulating foods, too much chocolate. So we might see that in someone who needs Nux vomica to help them break this cannabis habit. You might also see in Nux vomica someone who doesn't sleep well. They wake up. They might wake up regularly, consistently, every hour or so, or they might wake up at 3 a.m. Generally speaking, people who need Nux vomica wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 to 4 is the time that they most often wake up, and they often can't go back to sleep. And then their mind starts to get going. Another aspect of Nux vomica is they often can have constipation. So if there's constipation, or there can be also diarrhea, and there can be constipation alternating with diarrhea. More often it's constipation, but there's a gut issue. Whereas with cannabis indica, perhaps there's an aspect of it, but it certainly is not as powerful and as strong as Nux vomica presents. So, if I were to choose Nux vomica to help someone get off of their cannabis habit, I would want to see this picture. And I would expect that if you decide to do anything like this, that you read these medicines. You read Nux vomica in your Materia Medica. If you don't own one, go online and read Nux vomica. Then, with this person in mind, through that lens, then go back and read cannabis indica. And does that fit this person? And then back to Nux vomica. Now, I'm going to tell you, my friends, these are not the only two. There are I just told you there are a number of remedies here from which to choose. But I'm giving you the ones that I find the most noteworthy, at least in my experience, in dealing with someone who has a need and hopefully a desire to get off of regular use of smoking marijuana. Nux vomica can also be someone who is hungry all the time. Now, that's kind of a strange thing, isn't it? Because they call it the munchies when people smoke marijuana. And they overeat, not just stimulating foods, but just overeat, period. So you'll see that's an aspect of their gastrointestinal situation. So how would I use these medicines? What potency? What frequency? Whatever you choose, you want to stay kind of a little bit of a distance from the person so that you're not drawn into the changes that are daily, because they're going to be daily changes. This person is going to change and then change again, and new things are going to pop up, and they're going to be going through a process. Because when someone's addicted to a substance, they have to process getting out of it. And so I would use, for cannabis indica, I would use it in a 30th potency perhaps, and I might use it every few days, every 3 days. That's what I mean by few, every 3 days. Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, for example, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or even go 3 days only, twice a week, 1 dose on those every 3 days, and then over a period of time, we're looking for a shift. And what the person should be reporting to you about is that they are clear-headed. They're sleeping a little better. The urination is not as frequent. There is, you're going to notice, they may not, but you're probably going to notice that exaltation is calming down. There's a closer sense to reality. When things are not funny, they won't laugh. They'll laugh when it's appropriate. When it's nux vomica, if we choose that, and I would not use both, my friends. I would choose one or the other. If it was nux vomica, we're going to see that the sleep again is improved. They're not going to wake up so readily. They're not going to wake up and stay up at 3 or 4 in the morning. Any gastrointestinal things will start to abate. And we're looking, what do I mean by abate? We're looking for the 3, this is a writer downer for those of you who don't know this, the 3 magic markers so that we know that we are moving forward because the remedy was well chosen. The first magic marker is there's less intensity to the symptoms. Whatever the symptom is that you're measuring, there's less intensity to it. If there's constipation, it's not as intense. If there's anger, it's not as intense. If there's insomnia, it's not as intense. So we want to see over a period of weeks that there's less intensity. We also want the second magic marker is that that it won't last as long. Whatever the condition is, it doesn't last as long. The headaches are not as long lasting. The anger doesn't last as long. Whatever it is we're measuring, it doesn't last as long. And the third magic marker is that there's a larger space between each episode. What used to happen every day is now happening every second day or every third day, etc. We're looking for that whether we choose cannabis indica, whether we choose nux vomica, whether we choose, let's see, where are we? Bufo, it's another medicine here, whether we use tuberculinum, regardless. But I'm just comparing these 2 medicines because I personally, as I've said, have found them to be quite useful for students, clients that I've taught. Now, there's another medicine that I think is a good concomitant. And what I mean by that is whether you choose cannabis indica, bufo, tuberculinum, nux vomica, whatever, I urge there to be a second remedy added to the schedule, and that is Avena sativa. Avena sativa, which is herbal. I mean, I like to use it in the herbal formula so that it's not homeopathic. It's a botanical, and it's made from oat straw. Avena sativa. Excuse me, what am I saying? Did I just say that? Yes, Avena sativa. Avena sativa. 2 words. So, can it be used in a homeopathic formula? It certainly can. I have used it in mother tincture. And so then we use generally 5 to 10 drops twice daily, and that helps many addictions, my friends. What I see it in it is that it seems to calm the nerves, seems to keep things settled. Okay, did I not tell you nux vomica? What potency? Yeah, I did not apparently. Okay. So I like nux vomica in a 30th potency if there is a gut issue such as constipation. Love it in that potency. But I also like it in a 200, and I would not use it every day. I would use it, say, every 3 days, just as we talked about with cannabis indica, every 3 days. Perhaps every other day, but every 3 days it would be every other day, every 2 or every 3 days. What would lead me to go every 2 days rather than every 3 days is if there's a lot of nux vomica characteristics that are presenting. And it's the same thing with cannabis indica. If it's very powerfully strong that this medicine is highly indicated, then I might consider going every other day. Okay. Now, where can you purchase these? People are asking. I don't know that you can purchase it on from Boron. Certainly Nux vomica you can. If you can't get cannabis sativa from Boron, then you can go to Helios. If you happen to be a student or a client of mine, then you can certainly go to the pharmacy that I work with. And you can get oat straw or Avena sativa from a lot of herbal companies. Be careful, however, my friends. These herbal companies are being bought up by big companies. So I used to count on Herb Farm, H-E-R-B, Farm, P-H-A-R-M. I used to count on Gaia, G-A-I-A. I don't know about them any longer, I'll be honest with you. So you're going to have to do a little homework on that. Herb Farm, there we go. Leanne, thank you, Leanne. So Leanne feels pretty good. I've not bought from Herb Farm in quite some time. That was a mainstay of my work for decades. I'm going to be honest with you, I worry about these companies being bought up. Helios has it, okay. There we go. Here we go. Hawaii Pharmacy. Thank you, Leanne. You're absolutely right. I've purchased from that. Hawaii Pharmacy is a good place to buy these botanicals. I think Leanne is my assistant. Not I think. Leanne, you're my assistant. You're always right there for me. Thank you. All right. Every second or every third day. Yep. So I want my friends, please like, share, comment. Please do that. Subscribe. It helps us get this word out. I hope you know that I do not make an income from this. I do this because I think it's important. This work, I want a homeopath on every corner. The world needs help. The world needs good medicine, pure medicine, God's medicine, and that's what I believe this is. Without side effects, very inexpensive, easy to administer. Children like the pills, they like the taste. Even my dog Buster used to come to me when he wasn't feeling well, stare up at me. We'd be sit right at my desk and look up at me and stare at me when he didn't feel well, until I went to my kit and then pulled out a remedy for him, and I'd put it in my hand and he would lick it up. And then he would walk away and go sit somewhere else, maybe with my husband or something. So that's how easy it is to use these medicines. They're easy to get a hold of. And once you learn this, my friends, you remain, as you age, you remain relevant. Your knowledge is important. So no matter how old you are, if you're older and you're a grandmother, and you, or you're a young mother, and I say mother because most folks who follow me here are moms or grandmothers, or women who are tending to others. We do have some men. But this will keep us relevant as we age. Your grandchildren will come to you as you sit in your rocking chair and say, Grandma, I've got this little thing on my toe. Or, Grandma, can you help me? My stomach doesn't feel well. Teach your children, my friends. This is a lifelong pursuit. And the more you focus on it, the more powerful you will become in your life, the more confidence you will have. And so with that, I say God bless you all. We'll be talking more about addictions next week. And God bless you. Mwah. See you then. Bye now.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calica bonicum, let it melt on your gumbo, to weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.